You're tuned into Big Ideas Small Business with Doreen Milano. Doreen brings energy, focus, and creativity with the most cutting-edge tools and systems needed to grow business, drive profits, and achieve dreams. Ready to rise? Here's your host, Doreen Milano.
So today we're going to be talking to Wes Smith with Securitas, right? Mm-hmm. And Sherri Williams with dabow. Now, both of these companies have to deal with security on a daily basis. And their customers have got to rely on them for giving them the right information to make security work for them. So let's talk about security with buildings and areas, especially in light of some of the weather issues that we've had. What do we need to acknowledge to overcome some of the security issues that we were seeing of the recent weeks?
Power issue, huh?
Yeah.
Well, we need to play with power then. And it can be as simple as adding in a battery backup that you buy at the local electronic store. You order online. That can help, okay? Or it can be as complicated as getting a big fancy generator.
Yeah.
But most people can live with some type of battery to help back it up. And we used to say you only need 3 days. Well, going through the deep freeze of 2021, you probably need 7 days, okay? But for that peace of mind, for that coverage, that is a one-time sunk cost. Once it's there, it's always there, and you're going to be able to carry it with you for as long as you stay with that business.
A lot of businesses had to completely stop because they didn't have electricity, they couldn't take payments, they couldn't do a lot of things, right?
Right.
So, Sherri, how did you support your customers through some of that?
The first thing we did is we were proactive when we called our customers, and we made sure, number one, that they were okay. We made sure that they had a backup plan. When I set up a client, I always make sure that they have a plan A, B, and C, because you can never count on technology completely. So most of my clients were able to handle things either manually or via cellular service. And the majority of my clients were able to stay operational as long as they had lights and water.
Right. So Wes, I had to leave my house because I had no electricity at all for quite a few days. And so I went to stay with my son. And one of the things I noticed is that the Save-On the corner, all of their alarms were going off. Now, I don't think it was necessarily security alarms. I think it was probably water fire alarms.
Could have been.
Yeah.
That were going off. How do you prepare for that kind of thing?
First off, I don't know if it's the business owner's responsibility for that, okay? Because they're busy setting up their inventory, they're busy getting the building, the lights on, and all those things. That's my responsibility. That's my responsibility. That's the person who they call to do those things. And it's to ask the question and bring it up. Now, I'm going to tell you straight up, 9 times out of 10, they tell me I'm not going to worry about that. I'm going to tell you, last week, everybody said they don't worry about that, have called me back, emailed me, and said, we got to worry about that, okay? So you have to know and have the confidence to be able to tell that business owner when they're there, look, this is going to be a rare event, but you need to know what you need to know to be ready for it. I got to give you that information. So if I give you that information now, you make that choice. Do I want to do it now? Can we budget for it for next year, next quarter, whatever it may be? Because like I said earlier, it's a sunk cost. It's there, it's done, it's an improvement. It's something to keep your business going, protected, and giving you the confidence that even though you're not there, you still got power for things to communicate. Because you'll notice most people who are without power, if you talk to the internet providers, the internet was still working. It was just the power to make that recorder or make that alarm system transmit wasn't working. So if you've got the power there, you can do it. How are you going to do that?
Right.
A lot of times it's simple. Like I said, if it's most small and medium businesses, it's a simple type of battery evaluation. You install that, you get a commercial grade one. They might not have to worry about that for 12 more years.
Yeah, so for my personal house, we didn't have internet for 12 days.
Oh my gosh.
And so life literally stopped. And I got to really recognize how much we rely on the internet for doing simple day-to-day things, checking with the bank, making, placing orders for food, doing just really basic, simple tasks. And when it's gone, you're recognizing how much you are relying on your internet provider, electricity, and some basic services to be able to do anything.
Right. And on that note, Sherri made a good point with her clients with the cellular connection. Okay. Understand the alarm system, when you have it, works off a different cell unit than what your phone does. Okay. So your phone might drop, but because it's an emergency communication, your cell unit that is transmitting, if they put in a proper alarm cell unit, is always going to be transmitting because that works over an emergency, almost the same frequencies that police and fire work off of. It's going to continue to work, okay, because it has to. That's the extra cost for it. So your cell might have dropped. So if you're working off of internet with a cell backup, if you've got a commercial grade system, one that's designed for the alarm system for your home or for your office, it's going to keep transmitting. For as long as it has power, it's going to communicate like it's supposed to communicate.
Right.
So
when we go through these types of disasters, right? How do people know what they can and cannot get when they don't have access to the internet?
All right. As far as payments goes, it all goes in training from the beginning. As soon as we onboard a client, we make sure that they and their employees are trained ahead of time to what can happen. Because like you said, and like Wes said, you can't always depend on your internet connection, your phone provider. So you have to have other ways to process, to take care of your business. And just like with COVID, it's all about adapting. That now we all have learned something and that we need to make sure that we have all of those plans in place. And with our clients, we create custom solutions that actually help them plan for those avenues.
That's a real important point. Preparation and planning. So when we talk about preparation and planning, it's not just about security. It's about our ability to perform the minimum basic tasks that we need to perform to really support our clients in doing business with us.
Absolutely.
Right?
right.
And that is the best service we can give our clients, is to give them the security that when they do business with us, their payments are secure, the security of the building is secure, that everything comes together as a total package to take care of the client.
That is correct.
Correct?
But can I ask you a question?
Absolutely.
Did you know Sherri's in payment processing? I'm in security. Did you know we overlap?
Absolutely.
Well, let's talk about that, because I didn't know that you overlap, and I didn't know the extent of how you overlap. So I think that's a really big piece that we need to talk about.
It's pretty exciting.
And I think we're going to take a commercial break right now, and when we come back, we're going to talk about how you guys overlap.
Okay.
All right.
We'll be right back.
What does it mean to devote your life to the truth? Does it mean investigating communist subversion here in America? Does it mean exposing the deadly fentanyl crisis in the Midwest? We're spending late nights uncovering deep government corruption. Does it mean persevering over 20 years, even after 4 masked men set one of our printing presses on fire last year? Because at a time when America's traditional values are under attack, it's the responsibility of righteous journalists to uphold truth and tradition.
Our position in the market is that we work for a customer to align them with the correct retailer for their business. We'll custom price and build a contract around your business requirements, not around the supplier's preferred way of doing things. We go and do a custom price based on your energy usage profile. And in our business, we can help any commercial business owner regardless of the size of their company. If you're paying $100 for your electricity per month or you're paying $1 million, we're able to help you get a better price based on who you are. Our position in the market is that we work for a customer to align them with the correct retailer for their business. Texas is very proud to have been able to shut down 9 coal-fired power plants in the last 2 years and replace that production with clean burning renewable energy. The 85% of the electricity in the grid for Texas is used on commercial. We're here to help those 85% reduce their costs as much as possible.
Welcome back to Big Ideas Small Business with Wes Smith and Sherri Williams. And we're talking about security. Now, ease of payments, loss of internet, loss of power. How quickly can you move to get somebody's payment processed?
Within minutes, if not seconds. And most of our clients we have set up with a payment gateway, which is like think of your online banking center, and you basically just log into the portal. You can have a link on your website. We can get it up within seconds, and customers can go and pay via the button on your website. They can also use their cell phone if they have cellular access, and then they can use their computer if they have internet. If they are a retail store, hospitality, where they have in-person transactions, again, we have terminals and card readers that are both internet and cellular. So we can get them taken care of right away. It's all about versatility and adapting, and we can do it quickly.
Now, before the break, we were talking about how both of you overlap your services.
Mm-hmm.
Can you tell me more about that?
Yes, I'm gonna bring Sherri in here because she's an expert in this field on payment processing. We overlap with PCI compliance. Okay, that's her major part. Mm-hmm. So Sherri.
All right, so PCI compliance is very important, and it affects anybody handling credit card data, from the software company, web developer, the processors, the sponsoring banks, and the merchants. A lot of small merchants don't think that they have any responsibility in that, but as a matter of fact, the smaller you are, the easier it is for you to get hacked, and so the more important it is.
Well, hang on a second.
Okay.
I am unclear about what PCI means, and why is it important to me as a merchant?
All right, PCI is Payment Standards Industry Council, and basically what that is it's not a law, but it is a requirement that any business that takes credit cards or handles the data actually make sure that there's 25 steps that they take in order to be compliant. And what we do with our clients, because when merchants hear that the word PCI, they go into panic mode or they completely shut off, we make it easy and simple by consulting with every single client of ours from the time we board their account all the way through the cycle of their business, because it does change on a daily basis sometimes. And we walk them through their yearly questionnaire to make sure their software vendors are compliant, to make sure that their security cameras are compliant, to make sure that their employees are trained, that they have a security policy, a training program, that their ports are not open that could let hackers in.
Wow.
So it's a customized approach, and it sounds complicated, and it is, but with dabow, we actually make it simple for them and make sure that they're secure. We actually have a 95% success rate that all of our clients are PCI compliant, and we strive very hard to make sure that that's simple for them and that they're trained properly.
I have a question.
Okay.
That just popped in my head. If somebody has not answered the questions properly, does it cost them more money in their processing?
So, well, first of all, I want to say that just because you do your PCI annual compliance, that does not mean you are compliant. It means that you are answering the questions to say that you are compliant. If you pass it, anybody using an internet connection has to have a quarterly scan done as well. And it's too complex for me to get into too deep today. But what can happen is if they are not compliant is, number one, if they don't do their questionnaire or they do not follow compliance standards, then most processors charge at least a $20 a month fee. And that's because the processors are being charged every day that their client is not compliant. Then the second thing that can happen, which is even worse, is that a business can be shut down. They can lose MasterCard, Visa, American Express access. They can also be charged as much as $60,000 if they get hacked. And I know that Wes actually had a scenario that happened with his card recently.
Yes,
and
I did.
I'm sure that business is struggling right now because more than likely they had not been compliant.
And I'd be willing to bet they hadn't. First off, how cameras play into it, especially if it's a retail establishment, entertainment, and medical offices. Mm-hmm. We've all been into the place where you see the camera on the register, watching the transaction happen.
Right.
Okay? To help keep the employees honest. Okay? In the news this year, there've been with another large security company where they had one of their technicians going back and viewing in over 450 different sets of cameras that he had done over the past couple of months. Another one, Verkada, they just had thousands of camera systems hacked because of, let's say, not taking proper PCI compliance steps, okay? Now, what we do with a camera system when I go into those environments, I bring in a system that is two-factor authentication for anybody who's viewing it, okay? So that outside of that restaurant, it's gonna be very difficult to get in. There's a lot of easy stuff to get into, so it's gonna be hard to do that. But here's what happened with me. We are now coming out of the deep freeze. We have come past the pandemic. We're going out, went out to eat. Now I have an Amex card. Okay, and 90 times out of 100, I'm going to use cash to pay for something because it's always funny watching people worry about change and how to do it and all that stuff. But I use Amex because I've got a lot of security protocols on it. Well, it got compromised. It didn't get compromised at the processing because I'd only used it at 2 places at this point. It got compromised in the back office when a person went back and viewed the cameras and was able to view that camera and pull information off the top of the card that was being put in at the payment area. So that was done inside. Okay, as it turns out, there was over 800 people who'd been through that restaurant since we have come out of our caves and had been hacked. Cards had been compromised that way. Okay. So understand there's a way that I can put it in your office, Doreen, that if you got your restaurant chain, if it's a franchise or you own all the company stores, that you know who looked at it. Somebody just can't walk in there and you just trying to figure out which one of the 15 people who went in through all those cameras did that. I can give those people direct access, and you know when someone tried to do it. Okay.
Wow.
So it's great, marvelous, and terrific. You put the camera in, but PCI compliance falls into more than just the way it's processed, because that card number, that client data that person has, is their responsibility all the way through. Okay. So you have to limit who can watch your video. You have to limit who can go in there. Doesn't mean lock down the door, because, no offense, if you've raised a child, you know they've lost more than one key to your house. Okay? How many managers can you imagine have given the key to that employee who says, I need to go get something out of the office, until they got to the point that they just leave the office door open? Okay? So part of that PCI compliance and HIPAA compliance stuff that we deal with is on a camera system, set it up with two-factor authentication. If somebody tells me they don't want it, they're telling me on that contract, I'm not doing two-factor, I'm using this, and they're accepting all that responsibility. And Sherri can tell you stories that fine is real, that if they don't pay attention to that extra step, because they didn't want to pay an extra $800, and they thought, I ain't gonna worry about that. Well, you should, because it will happen. It's not a matter of when, it will. So.
Right.
Well, let's hold for a second.
Okay.
Let's go ahead and go to a commercial break, listen to some of our sponsors, and then we'll be right back to finish this riveting conversation about PCI and security.
Strong business has always been the clear economic indicator. WorkSuites in Allen, Texas is just one of 18 locations in DFW and Houston that support your necessary transitions with full service and affordable workspaces for upgrading or downsizing your current workload. You need to be focused on growth. Trust the office experts and helpful staff at WorkSuites to take care of everything else, from dedicated phone lines and internet to furnished executive and co-working spaces. The OBBM network has tripled our business in the short months we've been with WorkSuites and encourages you to step out boldly, make the tough decisions, and get back to work your way. Your nation depends on it. The OBBM network acknowledges that this is a pivotal time in history, and it is clear the United States of America has been undermined by many of our elected officials for some time now. We want our local business audience to stand strong in the face of what we now understand, and to be empowered to grow our businesses on the local level beyond the limitations that have been imposed upon us. We believe it is in our national interest to inspire our communities through strong economic development, and additionally to hold our elected officials accountable for accurate representation of we the people. For that reason, we encourage you to go to WeStandForFreedom.com to learn about the National Write Your Congressman organization that has been the trusted communication tool for local communities for over 60 years. Learn how your representatives are voting. Understand the laws and regulations under consideration on the state and federal level before they are enacted at the county and city levels. Communicate directly with these officials and stand up for yourself, for by doing so, you will protect the communities you serve from tyrannical rule and unconstitutional reforms. The OBBM network is the premier voice for local business, and we take that responsibility seriously. The OBBM network has everything you need to grow and transition your business for success on popular syndicated podcast networks, Roku and other video channels, and the OBBM network app. We work for you, local business, and we've got your back.
Welcome back. We're talking to Wes Smith and Sherri Williams. Wes is with Securitas and Sherri is with dabow Pay, and we're talking about PCI compliance and security. And I think it's really important for our listeners to understand what kind of fines are involved when you don't do it right.
Right. So it can be anything from MasterCard, Visa, restricting their, them basically going on what's called a match list, where they can never get a merchant account again. But more than likely, it's going to be that and fines, and the fines can be up to hundreds of thousands of dollars, or the business can end up having to close down, because not only do you have to deal with the breach, you have to notify your customers, you have to notify the authorities, you have to notify the processors, but then you also have to pay for investigations and any of the losses to the clients who charge their cards. So it can be hundreds and hundreds of thousands of dollars. Most businesses cannot sustain it unless they're a very large corporation. And that's why I stress it to my clients to make sure every step of the way they're educated and they're compliant.
Mm-hmm. That's really important. Mm-hmm. Now, Wes, how do people find you?
They call you.
They call me. Well, that's true. They can call me.
Yes.
But if you want them to call you,
they can call me at 214-477-6692.
And do you have a website?
Well, they can go look and learn all about Securitas Electronic Security at securitases.com.
Awesome. And Sherri, how do people find you?
All right, they can go to dabowpay.com. That's D as in David, A, B as in boy, O, W, P as in Paul, AY.com. They can text SIMPLE to 972-525-7575, or they can email me at Sherri, SHERRI, at dabowpay.com.
That's great. Now, I'm Doreen Milano, and as a business coach, I want you to know that when my clients talk to me about needing to look at payment solutions, now that's not just credit cards, it's also how to process checks, it's also how you take money, it's also how you can do this all online. Mm-hmm. My recommendation is Sherri.
Thank you.
And when my clients need support in securing their building, they need cameras, they need whatever, my recommendation is Wes.
Thank you.
Yeah.
It is so important to have a team around you supporting your business that you can rely on. It makes a huge difference to know who those players are and how those players create benefit for your customers. Very, very important. It's one of the ways that you get to stay engaged in your business and engaged with your customers. So thank you for listening. It's been a great segment of Big Ideas Small Business. Again, my name is Doreen Milano. You can find me at V2E.biz. Visions to Excellence. Thank you so much for listening today. As your executive business coach, I'll show you the winning formula that I use with hundreds of clients to get positive results. Let me show you how to avoid unnecessary strain on your systems, processes, and your people. You need to have 2 business goals right now, today. And do you know what they are? And the rule of 72 has a huge effect on your ROI. Do you know how to manage that? V2E.biz. Give me a call.
This has been Big Ideas Small Business with Doreen Milano. Doreen Milano solves problems for small and mid-market family-owned businesses and service-based industries. To work with Doreen, go to V2E.biz. For guest and sponsorship information, call 650-483-5798. Big Ideas Small Business with Doreen Milano is produced by Offbeat Business Media for the OBBM Network. For OBBM Network programming information, call 214-714-0495. Unauthorized use of any part of Big Ideas Small Business with Doreen Milano without prior permission through the OBBM Network is strictly prohibited.